Hey everyone, welcome to the update on Bitcoin. Before I get started, of course, everything I say in here is not investment advice, for educational purposes only. You're responsible for your own trades, and I'll never tell you where to enter or exit a trade. All of the thoughts and ideas here are my opinion, and nothing should be misconstrued otherwise. I'm going to get right into it here. I want this to be really quick, 5-10 minutes at the most. Again, starting back here, we've covered this, many times in the past. Swing high, swing low, retest here at about 8,500. So our high of about 10,000 and our next high of about 8,500. Again, this was at approximately the 618. Again, I covered this on my last video, so I won't go into explaining this too much here. But again, you can see here that we had our retest, and this is backwards. So let me just adjust that real quick here so we can see that that was, in fact, at the 618 that we had our rejection. So again, bearish rejection at the 618. It was a big rejection, right? It took us past the median. Of course, in a pitchfork like this, we do expect it to return to the median. We did get a bounce there, pretty big one. And then we had some consolidation. And of course, we went sideways until we had about 6,500 right here. And that happened to tag the top of this channel. Now, I want to point out why that's very important. I'm going to start backing my way out here. And you can see after we tagged that median line, of course, not the median line, but the top, the trend line here for the resistance level. When we touched it here, this is where we created our first pivot, and we had a massive rejection. Okay, then we had some consolidation. We touched it here, and we had, yet again, a massive rejection. And what are we doing now? Well, of course, we all know we are doing some consolidation. Now, it's not the same kind of chop that we had up here, right? So we had our rejection and some consolidation. And then down here, we had our rejection, which actually brought us lower from a channel perspective, right? So here we had our rejection here at the 50% or our median line, and it went down just a little bit more to about 23 to 25% outside of that median line. However, when we had our rejection here, this took us a lot deeper, right? So let me go ahead and zoom in here. We went a lot deeper than we originally did when we had our first rejection where we actually created this channel. So again, the cyan line, this is our median line. And let me just size this appropriately so that we can see it a little bit better. And I'll kind of explain some of the things here that I've pointed out. All right, so first off, this is about 50% between the median line and 100% outside of that based on the size of the channel. So we have our median line here. You can see we have a lot of action. We had resistance here, and then we had support here, and that took us again up to kind of where we are right now. But here's the important part. What we had a good rally, and actually you could see this was about a 5-wave move. And whether you count it as a 5-wave or not, that's up to you. But you can definitely see we had 1 impulse, 2 impulse, 3 impulsive moves. And we had a clean rejection. It happened to be at this particular point here. And we've been able to break through that again. But what I want to point out is we're approaching the same trend line again. So whether or not we move sideways until March 28th, and then we touch this, that's one point. Or maybe we rally just a little bit. I think we're actually going to retest this, and it could be at this 40.39. It could be slightly higher. My preference would be for it to be slightly higher than 40.38, whether it gets up to 40.68, 40.75, somewhere around there. I think that's probably a healthy move, because what that will allow us to do is set ourselves up for some bearish divergence. It'll allow us to retest this trend line and see what happens on the rejection. And maybe that doesn't happen at all. Maybe we have already hit the top right here at 40.39, and now we're starting our trend down. So I want to point out a couple scenarios for the bear case. All right, so when you have an ABC correction, which it looks like that's what this is on a higher time frame. I'm on a daily chart here. So we're talking from from our high here, which is on February 24th. We're almost a month later. And honestly, we've been inside of this range between 3,700 and 4,000. We've been in this $250 range for almost a whole month. And so, it's not a good market to be actively trading right now. Maybe you can try and set some high sell orders up here, maybe some low buy orders down here. But this is just proof that you shouldn't be rushing to get into a trade right now because of the fact that the market is moving so slow. All right. So when you have an ABC correction, what I want to point out here is you have your first wave down, which is your A, and then you have your retrace, which is your B. Now, B technically shouldn't go above where A wave started, and so far we've seen a decent rejection. It hasn't been extreme like we had on this candle right here, but we have seen a rejection or a pivot here at 40.39. I'm going to zoom in here just a little bit and show you the importance of where this pivot was. I'll show you that here in just a moment. But first, when you have the ABC correction, you would expect the C wave to be the size of about 162% the size of wave A. So in other words, we had our high pivot here, our low pivot here, that would be considered 100%. So we would expect about 62% on top of that, which is again what we use our trend-based Fibonacci for. Now the very interesting thing here is if this does happen to be the pivot, at 161.8% the length of this A rejection, it's going to take us right down to 3150. Now again, these are just units of measurement. There's no exact science behind this. This is just your probability. So the probability is the C wave would be the length of A, but about 162% the length of A. All right, so what that actually takes us down to is basically the low that we had in December. It almost takes you exactly to where that is. I know what a lot of people have been saying is we need to retest the bottom. I'm of the opinion we do need to retest the bottom. I don't believe this was a test of that low. I think we have to go down there again to this level. Now, just because that's what I think doesn't mean that's actually what's going to happen. It's just what my sentiment is. I do think we've had a really good rally here, and I think that for the next few days, it's probably going to continue to move sideways. We've already been like this for almost a month. There's no reason to believe that we're not going to continue doing that. Now, of course, I would easily be able to make an adjustment here if we do happen to get a higher high. So let's say we go up here to this trend line that takes us to 3175 instead of 3150. We're still talking somewhere in the 3100s. That is where our probability is going to be, where we're going to go. One more thing that's very interesting about this time frame here is futures expirations at the end of March. So I'm not going to act like Nostradamus here, but the fact that the end of March is upon us and futures are going to be expiring, that's also an important note to potentially set us up for a little volatility. There was some discussion, around this point right here where we had new futures opening, but we do have futures expiring, especially on BitMEX right here in this particular zone at the end of March. So it is possible that we just continue moving straight sideways all the way until the end of March, which happens to be about right here at about 39.70, which is almost exactly where we are today. So it's very possible for the next week that we move sideways. But whether we drop fast or we take a little bit more time to drop, I'm going to be looking down here at 31.75. That's my bear case. Now, my bull case is if we do break out of this channel, if we happen to cross through this line, I have no problem buying Bitcoin at $4,000, right? A lot of us were saying when Bitcoin was $17,000, $18,000 that you would love to buy it at 6,000. Well, here's the bargain at 4,000, right? So I'm of the opinion that the lower the Bitcoin goes, the better it is for it. because the chances of having exponential gains are higher. When Bitcoin is $3,000, a $1,000 move is 33%, but when Bitcoin is $20,000, a $1,000 move is very, very small. So yeah, I think that's only about 5% gain at that point for a $1,000 move at 20,000. So again, if we do happen to break out of this channel, this is where my sentiment will start to flip the switch bullish. But until that happens, I'm still going to be in bear mode, and I will trade the market that way until we do happen to break out of this resistance level. So that's my real quick update on Bitcoin. Of course, if you're not in the Discord, we'd love to have you there. And hopefully you all have a good day. You had a good weekend, and I will give another update. As I see the things sort of unravel over the next week or so. Have a good day, everyone.